let me just press that button. There we go. We are recording now. And I want to thank everyone for coming and joining us for a webinar on reading and writing with Google. I'm excited to let you know that we have a special guest speaker who already has control of my computer or her computer and will be sharing with us her knowledge and skills about using Google with her class, with her learners, with her program. This is Danielle Gignac. Thank you, Danielle, for joining us. And before I hand over the microphone to Danielle, I'm just going to let you know who I am if you haven't met me before. I work for Alpha Plus as projects coordinator. I do organize a lot of webinars for Alpha Plus, and I'm usually the one speaking. So I'm really excited it's not me today. It's actually Danielle sharing her knowledge and skills. I have been around for over 15 years working in the literacy field. Started as a librarian at Alpha Plus Library and moved through different positions. Lately, it's more about using technology and technology coaching, which I absolutely love. And I do a lot of presentations, workshops, and seminars, and I love what I do. So being able to connect with participants online or in person is something I absolutely enjoy. And as I said, having Danielle here today is a highlight of my month. So thank you, Danielle, for joining us. I'm going to hand over to you to start the webinar.
That's a lot of pressure.
No.
Highlight of the month. All right. Well, first I want to thank Monica for having me. This is my first time presenting in a webinar. Obviously, like you guys, I've sat in on quite a few. So just to give you an idea of my background, I work for the Learning Disabilities Association in Windsor, Essex County. So I think I saw actually one name I recognized from my area. So hello to you and hello to everyone else across the country. So I've actually worked for the Learning Disabilities for over 10 years now, and I do a lot of assistive technology training. So part of what you're going to see today is actually assistive technology. We're going to talk about why that might not be okay in a literacy program. But I do here for the Learning Disabilities, I coordinate. We actually have contracts with both of our local English-speaking school boards to provide technology training to students with disabilities. I also teach a course at St. Clair to future EA students regarding how to use the technology. I absolutely love using technology. Every time I kind of see that student that gets that aha moment and they find something that works for them, I just get goosebumps right down my arms. So just like Monica, I'm a little bit of a tech geek and love the impact that it can have on people.
Oh. Sorry, I'm too excited.
All right. Do you want me to do the overview and then you can do the housekeeping stuff, or?
Yeah, let's do that. So we'll start off with a few tips on how we are using GoToWebinar today. And then we'll have a few questions for you. It's going to be a poll we're going to launch directly on the site. And then Danielle is going to go into more details about creating Google accounts, introducing web store to you so you can learn more about that. And also she will talk about some extensions that you can add to your browsers that may be very, very useful for you and your learners. She will talk about lesson plan activities, which is really exciting. And then at the end, we're going to look at feedback and information on the upcoming webinars because there'll be more webinars with guest speakers. So this is exciting. Danielle will also have some other resources for you to share so you can learn more after this session as well. Okay, so thinking about the housekeeping tips, some of you may be very familiar with GoToWebinar. Some of you may be just starting or using it for the first time. So just a quick reminder that on your screen, what you will likely see is a section for audio where you can control your audio, telephone and microphone and speakers. We are using only microphone and speakers today. Anytime you would like to ask a question, there is a question section. You just type in there, you say enter a question for staff, and that question will come to me. Danielle is not going to see the question because she's a presenter. I am administrator, so I'm the one seeing the questions. As she's presenting, I will be interrupting her, asking her additional questions or providing feedback you will put in that question box. Now, if you at any point have a problem with your tools disappearing, you just have to click on the orange arrow and then you'll be able to go to view and enable it so it actually stays. Usually, sometimes it just hides to the right. So you may want to change the setting so it doesn't hide for you. It doesn't happen all the time, just happens to specific users, just on on a random basis. Really,
Picks the
I'm
people it likes.
honest. It's amazing. Okay, so don't forget that we have the audio. If there's any problems, just do the audio test for yourself. All your microphones are muted during the actual session, so we won't be able to hear you. You can eat if you would like. You can talk to your colleagues if you would like. We know some participants join us from a bigger room where there's other meetings and things going on. That's no problem. If at any point you would like to talk to us, use the question box. There is also raise a hand option, but we don't use it as much, especially if we didn't test your microphone, because sometimes we will enable the microphone and it just won't work. So totally up to you. Both ways will work. And the last thing I want to mention is that, again, this session is being recorded, so we can share it with other participants who couldn't join us and the public that visits our website and goes to our webinar section.
Perfect. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is just ask you a couple poll questions so that I can get a sense of how familiar everyone that's attending is with Google. So our first poll question, do you have a Google account? And if you have a Gmail account, that counts as well. And I think Monica has opened the poll question. So
yes, almost there. We have 90% of participants who voted. So it's almost everyone. Let's just wait one more minute. And I'm going to close it. Okay, let's close it. And I'm going to share the results with you. So here are the results.
All right.
Yep.
No, I can't see them.
Oh, okay. That's not good. Okay. So the results are saying that 89% said yes. 89% of our participants are using Google account and 11% are not using Google account.
Okay, perfect. Then question number 2, which web browsers do you commonly use? So do you usually use Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, or Apple Safari?
Okay, so I launched the poll again. In this one, you can actually, it's actually one. I selected only one. So let's pick one that you use the most, if that's okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. That's okay.
Okay, everybody voted, so I'm going to close the poll and share the results and read them out. Internet Explorer, 10%, Google Chrome, 60%, Mozilla Firefox, 30%, and Apple Safari, 0. Okay. So
awesome.
Chrome and Firefox are the most popular.
Okay, good to know. And then the final question, do you currently assist your students or learners to set up a Gmail account?
Okay. Almost there. Okay, let me close the poll and share the results again. 33% say yes and 67% say no.
Okay. Well, this is actually pretty perfect for what I would like to do today. So thanks for sharing that information with me, everyone. Certainly helps me kind of base how much time I should spend on each thing. So the first thing that I want to start off talking about is what is a Google account. So I think most people have heard of Gmail and know how to set up a Gmail account. If you don't, that's okay. I'm actually going to run through it really quickly today. But most people know how to do that. What some people don't know is that you can actually attach all kinds of other either apps or extensions, and we're going to talk about what those are, to your Gmail or your Google account. So there's all kinds. The ones that Google makes are all free. So there's things like Google Calendar, Google Drive, Google Docs, Sheets, Slides. There's even classroom versions, and you can make websites. All kinds of things that you can actually do with your Google account and can do them for free. So we'll talk about some things that we're going to be able to do today. So in order to start and create a Google account, the first thing that you have to do is open your Chrome web browser. So if you just are using Gmail, you can use Gmail on any single web browser that you have. It doesn't matter. You can use Internet Explorer, you can use Firefox, you can even use Safari if you want, and you can, Google, and you can open up your Gmail account with no problem. If you want to use some of the other apps and extensions that I'm going to be talking about today, you actually have to use the Chrome web browser in order for these other programs to work. So for some of you that aren't using it, so for the 10% or 20% that aren't using Google Chrome right now, again, the web browser is free, so you can just download it. You don't have to pay any money for it, so that's good news. Once you do log into the Chrome web browser, you would go to the Google search page, and in the top right-hand corner of your Google search page, there's going to be a blue sign in button, and if you have Gmail or a Google account already, you would just be able to sign into your account. So once you click on that sign in button, it would prompt you to enter in your email address and password, and you would be able to sign in. If you don't have one, at that point you would be able to click on the create an account option, and that's where you'd be able to create a new account from scratch. I'm going through this part a little bit quickly right now just because I am actually going to do it and step through the process of creating an account in a minute. So once you've logged into your account, there's actually a couple buttons that appear on your screen, and again, once I'm actually doing it, I'll be able to show you exactly where these buttons are located. But they look like little Rubik's Cubes, let's call them, and they're called your app launcher, or some spots it calls it your show apps icon. And these icons are where you can actually click on them, and if you've downloaded any apps or extensions onto your Google account, this is where you would find the apps, and you can actually click on them and open those apps. So the question is, where do you get apps and extensions for your Google Chrome account? Well, that's easy. Just like you have the Apple Store, the Apple App Store, Google has their Chrome Web Store. So for some reason, I always have a really hard time finding the Chrome Web Store. You would think that Google would make it easy and just have a simple link that you could click on. For some reason, they don't, or at least not one that I've managed to find yet. But what's really nice is if you just go to Google and you type in Chrome Web Store, it'll pull it up for you, and it's obviously going to be the first item that pulls up on their screen. Google certainly wouldn't want you to have to go looking for that information. So once you, and I also added the link right here, so you'd be able to just go directly to the Google Chrome Store if you had that link. And this is what the Google Chrome Store looks like. I just did a little screenshot from my computer at the time. We can see from the Chrome Web Store that it's going to give us options for apps, games, extensions, and themes. And what we're going to focus on today is talking about apps and extensions. So I'm just going to explain a little bit more about what Google Apps and Extensions are, and then, like I said, I'll go into Google and we'll actually start playing with some of them. So Google Apps are actual programs, so just, if you have an iPad or an iPhone and you download an app onto your phone or onto your device, this is the same exact idea. These are programs that you're adding, but instead of adding them to your computer, you're adding them to your Google account. So the one nice thing about this is that you're no longer stuck to a particular device. So if you are at home and add apps or extensions to your Google account at home, and then you go to work, if you log in with your same Google account, those apps and extensions are going to be there. If you then go to school, same thing, you log in, those apps and extensions are going to be there. If you go somewhere else and they have a Chromebook, same thing, and don't be scared if you don't know what a Chromebook is. I'm not going to mention it again today. But a Chromebook, same thing. Those apps are going to be there. The only place where these Google apps do not follow you is on an iPad. So on the iPad, each Google app, or at least certain ones, have their own app. So in Google, there's a on an iPad, there's a Google Drive app, there's the Google Calendar app, there's obviously the Gmail app. So you could download those different apps, but it's not going to work the same as in the web browser that you would on a computer um, or a Chromebook. So this is really exciting, especially for our students and for our learners, because now they can go home, they can be at home, they can be in their program, they can be at school, they can be at work if they have a job, and access all of the same things from all of those different locations. So they don't have to worry about carrying a device around with them. We know that or at least I believe from what I've seen and experienced, that a lot of our students and learners in our literacy programs do not have a lot of money, and so often they don't have computers at home, or they don't have the internet at home. So being able to go to the library and just being able to log into a computer and access all their Google accounts without having to always use the same computer, or, oh, I can only use the computer in the literacy program computer lab. No, now they can go anywhere. And as long as there's a computer and internet access, they can access these programs. So that's a really exciting change from just, 2, 3, 5 years ago. Like I mentioned, here I've circled on the screenshot that I did the app launcher symbol. So right beside your email address, so you've logged into Google and you have your, it shows you your email address now because you've logged into your Google account. Right to the left of your name is that little app launcher symbol. So on this screenshot, I've actually clicked that symbol, and here you can see some of my basic apps that I have on my account. And if I clicked that More button at the bottom, I'd be able to see another screen full of apps that I have. My other option for being able to access my apps is on my toolbar in Google Chrome. At the very, very, very left-hand side, there's going to be a little colorful Show Apps link, and if I clicked on that, it would actually open up almost like a web page that has all of the icons of the different apps I have. So depending on the user, they can decide which way that they like to access their apps the best. So Google Apps are actual little programs. Again, you can only run them in Google Chrome, but they are fully functioning programs. On the other hand, Google extensions are really small little programs. So instead of having a full program where when you click on it, it takes up your whole screen and you're kind of immersed in that program, extensions usually just kind of open up a little pop-up window, or they just perform a certain little function. So we can see on my screenshot here that I took that I have my Google Chrome up, at the very top of my screen. I would have my web bar that I would look at, and you can see here that I got a little bit excited, and I have probably about 8 or 9 different extensions here that I've added to my Google Chrome account. So these are more adding functionality to your account. So we'll see here, this first one is actually one of the ones we're going to play with today. It's called VoiceNote, so it's going to let me speak into my computer, and it's going to type down everything I say. Some of these other ones are ad blockers. Of course, you have to have your pinning tool for Pinterest. And then we have some other ones here that we'll be speaking about as well. This one here is Speakit that we'll be talking about, and this one here is Google Dictionary. So with these ones, all you're going to see are the little icons on your toolbar, and when you want to use them, you just click on that icon. So I just wanted to give you a couple more little bit pieces of information about Google Apps and extensions. These are things that we actually aren't really going to show and talk about today, but they're things that you might need to know if you actually do start using apps and extensions. So the first thing that you need to know is that when you add an app or extension, that sometimes a box will appear the first time that you go to use it where you have to give permission. So either it might want to access certain documents on your Google account, or it might want to access your microphone or your speakers or that kind of thing. So sometimes you have to give permission. So basically, if you don't give permission, the app or extension is not going to work. So you have to decide whether you want to use that app or not, and if you do, then you best be giving permission. The last thing that I kind of just really quickly wanted to touch on is how to remove an app or an extension. So basically what you have to do for both, it's a very similar process, is you have to click on the icon for either the app or the extension. You're going to right click on it instead of left click, and one of the options on the menu that appears is going to be remove from Chrome. And then once you click on that, it's going to say, hey, do you really want to remove this? And if you do, then you hit the remove button. Okay, so those are just things, again, I'm not going to actually show you how to do today, but something that you might want to know if you do start playing around with Google accounts quite a bit. All right, so before I actually ask this question, I guess first off, Monica, has there been any questions that have popped up so far?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. So before I ask my question in my slide, what I'd actually like to do is switch over to Google and show you really quickly how to create a Google account for the couple of you that haven't done so already. And then I'll show you how to access the Chrome web store as well. So I've created kind of a brand new slate right now. What I would like to do is create a new user. So I'm going to refresh my screen here so that I get my sign in button. So I'm now going to sign in to Google. I want to create an account because all of my existing accounts already have all these apps that I want you to download. So I'm really quickly going to create a fake account for us. Hopefully.
You're very brave. Creating a account sometimes takes a bit of time, so that's amazing.
All right. I'm going to kindly ask all of you to close your eyes as I put in some fake information here. Oh, apparently I can't be born on the 0 day. Okay.
I think some of those you could skip as well, right? They may be added later.
I think so.
Okay.
Yep. All right. All right. All right, so now I have an account, so that's good news. So I'm going to click on I'm not going to have it save that password for me. I'm going to click on continue. So now on my screen, we can see that I have my email address here. If I click on the app launcher, which is beside my email address, I can already see what accounts automatically come with, or sorry, what apps already come automatically with my account. So I automatically get Gmail, I get Google Drive, I get Google Calendar, I get Google Maps. You don't have to have a Gmail account at all for that. So those are all great things to start with. But what I want to do now is add some more. So like I said, I never remember what the address is to get to the Chrome web store. So I'm just going to do a Google search for it. It's the very first thing that pops up. Okay, and here's welcome to the Google Web Store. So like I said, we have a couple different categories here. So this is where we could do some searching for apps. If we had time and we wanted to have some fun, we could do some searching for games. What I really want to do today with this particular webinar is add some extensions. So again, extensions are just little added functionality to your Chrome account. So I've clicked on extensions, so only extensions pop up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add VoiceNote II, and it's the Roman numeral 2. I'm going to hit enter. Okay. even though I've told it to only show me extensions, it automatically defaults again to showing me both apps and extensions. So it's just a little bit confusing because VoiceNote 2 is offered as an app and as an extension, so it's easy to pick the wrong one. So just make sure if you do want to add VoiceNote 2 at some point that you are picking the extension version. There's nothing wrong with the app version, it's just that you have to go through a couple more steps to open it up. So I think especially for our learners, the less steps the better. So if we add it as an extension, it's going to show up right on their web bar, and they're going to be able to see it and click on it easily. So now that I found the one I want, I'm going to click on Add to Chrome. And again, here's one of these permission boxes that I warned you about. So it said, you know, add VoiceNote 2, speech to text. It can read and change your data on Google. So yes, I do want to add that extension. Okay. And then it tells me it's been added. And we can see right here, it's added it already to my toolbar. So I'm going to close that. Now I'm going to search for my next app I want. The next one is Speakit, all one word, and then an exclamation mark at the end. I'm going to hit enter. And here it is here, Speakit. I'm going to again click on Add to Chrome. So a list of 3 things it can do. Read and change all of your data on websites you visit, read all text spoken using synthesized speech, and read your browsing history. So again, I'm going to hit Add Extension. So here, it told me that it added it, so it's this little speaker icon right here. And it also has some settings that I can go into and play with. So I can choose which speech engine, so some voices sound better than others. So I'm going to switch it to the iSpeech speech engine. You can change what voice that you have. So you could have U.S. English female, U.S. English male, Spanish voices. You can see here you have all kinds of different languages as well. So if any of you work with ESL students, I know obviously your purpose would be to teach them English, but certainly it's something that you can show them for when they're on their own time. Here you get to change the speed that the voice reads at. So I'm going to kind of move it here for the moment. And then what I'm going to do is I can click this little testing button.
Danielle, we are not going to hear it, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so no problem. So when I hit that button, what it did is it read it out loud, and I could hear both the voice that I picked as well as the speed that she read at. So everyone, there's no right or wrong for the speaking rate. Everyone comprehends speech at a different rate. Typically somewhere in the 240 or less words per minute is typically what I see most people use it at, but you can make it quite fast as well. Some of these other settings here you can play with on your own time. They're just different things that how you use Speakit, what if you want to hit shortcut buttons and that kind of thing. So this is just on a tab on my Chrome browser, so I'm going to close that. And I have one more extension I want to add. So now that I'm back in my Chrome web store, I'm now going to type in Google Dictionary. And this is the one that I want here, the one that's actually made by Google. So again, I'm going to hit Add to Chrome. And this one can read and change all of your data on the websites you visit. So I'm going to hit Add. And we can see again, it's given me a little pop-up. And here's the little icon here. Okay. So that was a real quick how to add apps or extensions to your Chrome or your Google account. I'm going to switch back into my presentation again. So what I want to ask now, and everyone I think can just kind of answer in your comment box if you don't mind, for those of you that are teaching in a literacy program, what would you say the greatest impact is on your students' motivation to learn? So what's their reason for being there? And how what affects their motivation. So if they're going to leave your program, why is it that they're leaving? And then maybe Monica, you can
Yes.
let
As
me
soon
know
as
what they're
anyone
telling.
types, I will be reading it out loud.
I've scared them.
No, that there's everybody has needs to have a few minutes to think about it.
Yeah.
What about you, Danielle? Do you want to say what do you think would be the motivator for your learners, or do you want to say it at the end?
Well, I think for me, what we see a lot is if they don't see immediate progress, they want out. So I think they want to see progress right away. They've seen a lot of failure in their life by the time they come to us. So if they come to us and we say, yeah, we're going to be able to help you, but it's going to take 3 years before you see any progress, they're going to be out the door. So I think for us, being able to see some immediate improvement in their ability to function is a big thing for us.
Okay, that's really good, and it's interesting because Maxine just posted that it's achieving goals and progress shown. That would be the motivator for her learners, which is matching what you said about the progress, seeing the progress and the impact on the learners right away.
Yep.
Anybody else that would like to comment? Just type in your answers in the question box. Nothing yet, but if you would like to move on, we can start moving into the next section. Wait, there's Chris, and Chris is saying achieving goals and immediate progress. Yes, that's
Yep.
exactly the same. Everybody's in
Okay.
agreement. That's really good.
All right. So yeah, so that's kind of where I wanted to kind of go next. So I know when I've talked to people that run literacy programs in the past, when I first started talking about this kind of software that I'm going to be showing you next, I got a lot of hesitation from the people I was talking to because the software I'm going to be showing you next is actually going to read things out loud for the students, or it's actually going to let them speak and it's going to type out their work for them. So when you're looking at it from a basic literacy tutoring program perspective, you know, the tutors are going, well, what are you talking about? Like, you know, we're supposed to be teaching them how to read and write. We're not supposed to show them shortcuts on how to do it. And I totally agree. I think that we should be teaching people how to read and write, but I think we need to give them some hope and give them some basic, quick functionality right away. Otherwise, we are going to lose them. So if what they want to do is be able to go on Facebook like all of their friends and be able to read what their friends are posting and post things back, then why don't we let them do that? And this software is going to let them be able to do that, and no one on the other end of the computer is going to know that they use these special tools to be able to, you know, make a Facebook post or reply to a comment on someone's page. So that's kind of where my point of view and where I come from as far as this software is concerned. But again, I totally still believe that we should definitely be showing the basics of reading and writing as well. But at least this way we can kind of catch them with that, look, we're going to give you some basic functionality right now while we're still working on the basics. Like I mentioned, we just downloaded VoiceNote II, Speakit, Google Dictionary. You could see that they were completely free. I didn't have to pay any money to download any of those things. I downloaded them in 2 minutes or less, so it's not a very complicated process either. So the first app that I should use the correct terminology. The first extension that we're going to be talking about is VoiceNote II. So what that extension lets us do is speak into a microphone, and the extension is actually going to type out what we're saying. So if any of you are familiar with assistive technology, it's similar to Dragon, naturally speaking. If you have an iPhone or an iPad and you use the dictation feature to talk into your device and have it write down what you're saying, this is the exact same type of technology. The next one that we'll talk about is Speakit. So this is going to allow us to do the opposite. So it's going to allow us to take information that's on the internet. We're going to select the text that's there, and it's going to read it out loud for us. So that's obviously going to help with the reading end of things. And then finally, just because, of course, we all run into all kinds of words that we don't know what they mean, we have our dictionary. So all the user has to do is double click on the word that they don't know what it means. It'll pop up with a little definition, and then if I highlight that definition and click on the Speakit button, it'll read that definition out loud. So a great set of tools altogether for our students. So here I just go into a little bit more detail into each of the extensions. One thing to note for VoiceNote II, especially if they're using a desktop computer, that they will need a microphone or a headset to be able to speak into VoiceNote II. VoiceNote, actually all three of the extensions that I've downloaded here today and will be showing you have a huge range of different languages that are available within the app. So again, if there's any ESL students that you guys are working with, not only can you have them work with the English and practice their English skills, but on their own time they could even possibly use the apps in their own language if they have some difficulty there as well.
Danielle?
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt for a minute. I did send a reply to everyone, so I hope everyone could see it. But Maxine shared that she absolutely agrees that this approach will not cause them to opt out of the program, but really complement their learning goals and empower them to function in the social sphere while developing their literacy is important. So I just wanted to let you know that somebody else is agreeing with you.
Thank you so much. All right, so now this is a screenshot that I've taken of VoiceNote II. And again, I'm actually, once I quickly run through these slides, I'll actually open up each of these extensions and we'll try them in real life. So VoiceNote II, as you can see here, all it does is it opens up this window. The very first time that the person uses it, they need to click on the little globe symbol that's down near the bottom left-hand corner of their screen. They would then choose what language that they plan on speaking in, and then what country for that language. So once they do that, they can literally just click on this microphone symbol right here and start speaking into their computer. So you can see here I was having a very brilliant moment, and my comment I typed at the time when I took the screenshot was, "I'm speaking to my computer," and it typed that out for me. There's all kinds of other little features in the toolbars that you can see that run across the bottom and the right-hand side of the screen. A lot of them allow you to add in punctuation marks and those kind of things. You actually can dictate the punctuation mark as well. So when I wrote this with my voice, I said, "I'm speaking to my computer," exclamation mark. And that's what it typed out. But if someone's not comfortable speaking punctuation, which certainly it's a new thing for people, it is awkward and weird at first, so they could actually just hit these different buttons to get the different punctuation marks that they want. There is also a settings feature here in the very, very left-hand corner where they could type in some things that they commonly say and do some sort of shortcut. So they could put in the, let's say they type in, they say that they want to have a command called my address. So whenever they say the words my address, it's literally going to type out, I'm going to use the address for my workplace, not my house. It's literally going to type out 647 Olette Avenue, Suite 101, Windsor, Ontario, blah, blah, blah. And that way it would be a bit of a shortcut for them. Or if any of you work for places, I don't know if any of you guys have a workplace with as long of a name as mine, but if I was tired of saying the Learning Disabilities Association of Windsor, Essex County over and over again, I could just put in the acronym. I could teach it that when I say the acronym, LDAWE, that I really want it to type out the whole phrase. Okay, so they do have some capability for anyone. If any of you guys do know how to use Dragon Naturally Speaking, this is nowhere near as powerful as Dragon is. You can't correct mistakes, and it's not going to learn from you and that kind of thing. But as far as, this being a free tool, it's pretty amazing. Okay. The next one that we'll get to see is, like I said, called Speakit. So this is the kind of software where we're starting off with text, and it's going to then read it out loud to us. The only drawback to this one is that you do have to be on the internet, so it's not going to be able to read something that you have in Microsoft Word, but you could find a website where even Google Docs, where that's considered to be on the web. So if you copied and pasted the text onto there, it would be able to read it out loud. So there is some workarounds if you kind of know what you're doing. And certainly if you have questions about that, you can email me later and I would be happy to answer that. This symbol on our toolbar is going to be a little sound speaker symbol. Once we select text and we click on that little icon, this square here is what pops up. So it's going to start reading the text. We can hit pause, we can hit stop. The little red number that's part of the symbol, that number kind of indicates how many sentences you have selected, and it actually will count down. So as it starts reading the sentences, it'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as it's reading those sentences. So once it's done, you can hit play again and it'll reread it again. So if they didn't comprehend it the first time, they can just hit the play button again and it'll read it out loud for them again. So we actually already saw this screen. We already went through it when I first added the Speakit app to my brand new Google account. So again, this is kind of here I've selected the options that I kind of suggest or recommend, but certainly I suggest that you play around with it if you do decide to download it on your own at a later time. And then the final extension that we're going to play with today is Google Dictionary. So again, it's nothing fancy, it's just an online dictionary. Now that we have this app installed, when I double click on a word on the internet, it's automatically going to open up a pop-up window just like we see here. So here I didn't know what the word scholarship meant, so when I was online I double clicked on the word scholarship. We can see that it has the phonetic breakdown for us here. If I just wanted to hear the word in syllables, I could hit this little speaker symbol right here and it would say it, in syllables. And then here is where we have the actual definition. If I want the actual definition to be read out loud, I would select it and then I could go to my Speakit app and I would be able to hit that button and it would read it out loud for me. If I wanted more, if I click on this more button, basically what it does is it does a Google search for the word scholarship. So it'll bring you right over to Google search and it'll show you the results that it has for the word scholarship. Okay. Like I mentioned, all of the extensions that we have that I'm going through today do give you different language options. So again, obviously for our purposes, I selected English, but there's a whole ton of other languages that are available. And you can change how you make the pop-up definitions appear. So I like having it set to double click on a word. But you can also have it that you have to press control and click or control and double click, or you can come up with any sort of combination. I do have to admit that every once in a while I double click on a word not really thinking about it and suddenly this window pops up with a definition and I'm like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting. So even though I've made it very simple for myself, others might want to make it a little bit more of a two-step process so that you don't get the definition popping up when you weren't actually looking for it. For all of you tutors out there, something that you might find interesting is it does give you the option to store all of the words that you look up. So depending on where you're at with your literacy students, you might want them to check off that option, and then you could actually look at that list later and maybe do some sort of vocabulary building exercise with them, or that kind of thing. But certainly for my purposes, I don't have it do that, but it might be something that you would like your learners to do. All right, so I'm going to exit out of my presentation again, and we're going to play with some of these apps. Now, I don't know how well we're going to be able to play with them, just because a lot of them are speaking and I have to speak and those kind of things, so you might not be able to hear what's happening, but at least you would be able to see, and I could certainly talk you through what's going to happen. So the first thing I'm going to do is, that's a good question, what should I do? So let's say one of you is my tutor and you've asked me to do a little bit of research on dogs because I came in today and told you that I'm going to go to the pound and I'm going to pick up a dog, and you know that I have absolutely no concept of what is involved with owning a dog. So you said, you know what, let's do some research on that. So I'm actually going to cheat. Nowadays with Google, you do have this little feature right here where you can search by voice for things, and you could just click on it and the person can just talk right away into this. But because I want to show you how VoiceNote II works, I'm going to use it instead. So I've just clicked on the little VoiceNote II extension. It is opening up as we speak. And because it's our first time ever using it, of course, it took it an extra second or so. Like I mentioned before, the first thing I have to do, because I've never used it, is I'm going to click on the globe symbol, and I'm going to select what language I want. So you can see here again, as I've mentioned, all kinds of languages, and certainly languages I have no idea where they're even for. I'm going to select on English. While I would love to have an Australian accent, I don't. So I'm going to click on Canada. And then, again, I'm not sure if this is actually going to work or not because we're set up with the webinar, but I'm going to turn on the microphone. And again, it's asking permission to use the microphone, so I'm going to allow it. And now I'm going to test it and see if it works. And actually, I can see right now that it's working because it's generating my words right above me. Once I'm done, I'm going to hit the microphone symbol again, and it should put all my thoughts together and print them. Okay, so that's probably the longest run-on sentence ever, and had nothing to do with dogs, which is what my research project was supposed to be on. But let's see how accurate it was. And now I'm going to test it and see if it works. And actually, I can see right now that it's working because it's generating my words right above me. Once I'm done, I'm going to hit the microphone symbol again, and it should put my thoughts together and print. Okay, so, I mean, no training, no time, and almost perfect accuracy. So, pretty awesome. So, I'm going to delete all that. Owning a pet dog. Okay, and I turned off my microphone. So this is what I wanted to do my research on. So I have, I put owning a pet dog. So I am going to copy and paste this information now into my search bar. And the first thing that comes up, well, who knows, because I might not be able to read it. So if I wanted to know what this link said, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit my little Speakit extension symbol that appears in the top right-hand corner of my web browser. Okay, and I know you guys probably couldn't hear that, but what I just heard in my headset was 10 things you should know before getting a dog, Pet MD. Okay, so I can go, well, that sounds great. I should know 10 things I should know before getting a dog. So I click on that link, and again, I get on this website, and I would select this paragraph here, If I wanted to have this read out loud to me, again, I'm going to click on Speakit, and we can see here that right now it's thinking. I'm just going to pause it so that I don't have to try to talk over the voice that's speaking very loudly in my ears. So I've paused it. We can see here in the top right-hand corner, it has a little 5. So that should mean that there's approximately 5 sentences or phrases in here that we've selected to have it read out loud. We can see here that if I want it to continue, I can just hit the play button. If I wanted to stop completely, I can just hit the stop button. So when I hit the stop button, the Speakit symbol goes away, and we're back to just our regular website. So I can tell you, I know you can't hear it, and I apologize for that, but very good, very human-sounding voice, not anything like 5-10 years ago where it sounds really computerized, so it's not hard to listen to whatsoever. It's very, very advanced, very human-sounding. And last but not least, what I want to show you is the Google Dictionary. So let's say we get to this word here, and I don't know what it means. So I'm going to double-click on this word, and we immediately got a box pop up, and it told me it was searching. Right here, we see the word television. So again, if I click on that word, it's going to read it out loud to me. I just heard it in a really loud male voice in my head. So it has a definition here, but again, if I have a hard time with reading, I might not be able to read that. So I would select all that text. I would hit Speak It again, and it would read that definition out loud for me. Okay, so we're giving our learners and our students a lot of independence comparing to what they would normally have on the internet. That's for sure. So, yeah.
I just want to chime in and say that it's amazing you're overlapping 1 or 2 extensions to work together, which I usually use extensions individually, but here you're actually using them together, which is amazing.
Yeah, which is one of the really nice things. I mean, I absolutely love my iPad, but it would be really nice if we could use a couple apps at the same time, wouldn't it? Instead of having to, transfer things from one app to the next app to the next. So this is a really nice feature to be able to use some of these extensions right at the same time, for sure. So I think I'm going to close that down because I see we don't have very many minutes left. So I'm going to go back to our slides and just kind of finish off, and that way we'll leave some time for questions for you guys as well. So just a first kind of thought, based on what I showed you guys, do you have any ideas? You can write it in the comment bar or in the comment box about what kind of activities that you could do with your learners or your students.
Oh, wait, it's coming. Things are coming. I just have to open it up so I can see better. Very helpful and informative. We have been wondering about Google Apps extensions for quite some time. Thank you for sharing this information. That's from Amanda.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, well, maybe while we're waiting for some people to type some responses, I'll give some suggestions and ideas of what I think can be done. Certainly, we can work on sending and receiving emails, right? So if it's something that you haven't worked on with your students yet, and I think from the poll that we did at the beginning, we had that 33% of you were setting up Gmail accounts for your students and 66% weren't. So this would be a way that students would actually be able to read and write emails. Like the example that I did show, conducting online research, so we could now give them a little project. Okay, I want you to go research this, find the information. We can even have them write a little paragraph or a couple sentences based on where they're at, but with their voice instead of with actual typing or writing with their hands. But as they get more sophisticated, I did say that you can dictate punctuation, right? So even if they are writing with their voice, you know, you can still talk about the fact that, you know, it's nice that you're writing with your voice, but I still want punctuation marks. You know, I want periods at the end of sentences, capitals at the beginning, those kind of things. So, you know, you're still teaching certain skills, literacy skills within the computerized environment. I mentioned the building vocabulary with the Google Dictionary if you wanted to do that. And I really think, especially as a motivator for some of our guys that we work with, being able to use social media. So, you know, for our guys to not be able to use Facebook or often embarrass themselves when they use Facebook because, you know, they kind of read half the comment or half the post, but they only understood half. So then when they put their comment back, it didn't really make sense because they didn't respond correctly, and then their spelling is terrible when they do their response. You know, so no one wants to be made fun of, right? So they're obviously going to really quickly move away from social media if that's the case, if that's what's happening with them. So being able to use this, these tools with social media, and talking about the rules and some of the social expectations around social media as well. What are you putting out there? What should you keep private? Those are, as I'm sure you guys all know, really big things to talk about as well.
And we have more feedback. So I'm just going to read off a few comments and then there will be a question. So one of the comments is, love, love, love this. Currently using Dragon naturally speaking, but this is something they can use at home. That's from Diane. And the next comment is, love them as well. We'll share with the instructors who could not attend the seminar. We have ESL link and LBS, sending and receiving of emails and research, priceless. So that's amazing comments coming in. And then there's
Awesome.
a question. The question is, if I open Office online in Google Chrome, will these apps work?
Ah, I knew I'd get something tricky. So, you know what? I have, to be honest, to be completely honest, I haven't tried these specific apps with MS Online. I've tried other ones, and it's usually about 50-50. My gut feeling, though, even if worse came to worse and they didn't work, you would be able to copy and paste the text somewhere else online and still get the information. It would suck because you're copying and pasting, and some of our students have a difficult time understanding the copying and pasting because it's this invisible thing that no one can see where it's happening and where it's going to. Yeah, if you're using Microsoft 365, my guess actually would be that it would work. Well, you know what? How much time? We have 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Because I can actually test it while I just have to log out and make that happen.
No more questions right now, so let's try.
All right. All right. So because we do work with both of our local school boards here, one of our school boards has gone completely Google based, and the other school board, because of course no one can do anything the same, went Microsoft Office 365. So what I'm going to do, if I can remember the password, is log into our I'm really hoping that's the password. No. Where would I have that information? Okay.
For most of my learners, I would need to walk them through the setup. Additionally, I would need to assist them with the usage of a few times before they achieve some level of comfort. I think they will love these tools since they will get greater independence. So I want to follow up with that and ask a question. How long did it take your learners to actually get comfortable with some of those extensions?
You know what? I actually work more with kids than I do with adults.
Okay.
And the kids love Google Chrome. They tend to find it very intuitive because they grew up with that kind of thing, right? I would say with the adults, again, it depends if they have basic computer skills. If they have basic computer skills, I bet you it wouldn't take very long for them to catch on. But if they struggle with every single activity on a computer, then yeah, it's definitely going to take a lot of repetition and going over it over and over again. But
and it's maybe
all right,
even starting with
so
one at a time. So if you start with dictionary, it
yes,
seems to be the least complicated because they just have to do double click. That may be a way to
yeah.
start and get them used to the idea that there's something that will help you as you're going through the process as well.
All right, so I'm in Microsoft Word online. I just typed out a sentence. I am now going to click on Speakit.
I seem to remember the last one.
Hold on. It read it out loud to me.
It
So
worked!
it works. It works with Microsoft Online.
And Amanda said that she heard that. Yes, you could hear a bit of the sound in your headset, so that's amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I have it set so loud that you're just probably hearing it from my headset right into the microphone. So, all right. Any other questions?
No, everybody's saying thank you for all your help and support, and I'm very excited. I would love to hear back from some of the participants if they actually tried some of those applications and extensions, and how does it work for them, if it's useful or not, what works, what doesn't. Emails, anything else would be useful, just to let us know.
Yeah, honestly, and I think, yeah, on the last slide there, I did give my email address. So if you guys run into any problems or questions, send me a quick email. I'm happy to help.
Perfect. And so the last thing before we wrap up for today is the survey. I'm going to copy. Let's see if actually I can copy that. No, I can't copy that. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll give you the link so you can actually do the work as well. With surveys.com/ I just need the code for it.
It says it's
Google Tools.
backslash
It's actually
S
fairly
and
easy.
Google Tools. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Google Tools. I'll copy that. If I didn't mistype it, if I mistype it, we're in trouble. I'm going to put it in the box for everyone, so you will actually get the link, and hopefully that will work. But if you and we would really appreciate your feedback, Danielle. As everybody's following the link, and hopefully the link works. If it doesn't, please let me know. I want to thank you so much. This was so informative and so clear in the way you actually navigated between installing everything, setting everything up, and actually testing. It was just amazing. Thank you so much. I know everybody else probably enjoyed
No
the session
problem.
as much as I did, and I absolutely I do use the dictionary myself. I do use Evernote. I have seen that in your in some of your extensions. I have tried the Speakit and the other one as well, but I haven't really used it as much. But it's amazing to see how you are taking it and applying it to using with learners, which is exactly the goal many of us will have, and not sometimes not even think about of extending that process from just taking somebody online to do research to enhancing it with speaking and reading out loud and text speech to text tools that would help the learner as they're starting to use the online resources.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Well,
So
thank
I'm
you so much for having me.
No problem. And just check in with everyone. If there is a problem with the link, please let me know in the question box. I think it should work. Let me check just one more time. So let's take a few minutes to see if anyone has any more questions. Of course, you can use the question box. Maybe it doesn't work.
So you know what you have on the slide? You have fluidsurveys.com /s /Google Tools.
That's why it's not working.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. It should work, of course, right? I will send the link also as a follow-up to make sure that if you don't have time to do it today, you will be able to do it at the end from home as well. So I'm just going to copy the link again here. One more time. Let's see if this one works.
Yeah, that one looks right.
Okay. So please, please, please fill out our surveys. Let us know if you have any more questions. Some of you may be testing or trying different things. That's okay too. No problem. Danielle, do you have a few more minutes to stay behind and see if there's any questions from the group?
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
And if you're done with us today, if you need to leave, please just close the window. Everything will shut down for you. You don't have to do anything else. And